Did you know that you can use astrology to determine which coffee shops to go to, what gym is the best gym to work out in, what local neighborhoods in that city or town that you're about to go on a vacation to, what areas should you visit, where should you book that hotel, where should you book that Airbnb? These are all valid questions that we should all be asking ourselves when planning our vacations, and local space is the solution. Let's get into this video on local space astrology and how you can use it to plan your trips and also find the best places to live based on what you're looking for. Hey there, it's me, Helena. Welcome back to the channel where we talk all about astrocartography, astrology, and the best places in the world to be. And it all depends on your natal chart, your astrocartography map. This video today was requested by you guys, so thank you so much for your video suggestions, and definitely let me know down below in the comments what types of videos you want to see from me going forward. What kinds of content do you want to see? As you guys know, I am a full-time astrocartographer and astrologer. I teach astrocartography and locational astrology in my online courses, and I also do private one-on-one readings, and I also have my new aligned astrocartographer directory. There's a lot of misinformation on the internet these days, which is why it's important to get a qualified astrocartographer that knows what they're doing, that knows relocated charts, understands parents. As I mentioned in my previous video, check it out above here. You gotta send that astrologer these 5 questions before you book that astrocartography reading with them. There's a lot of astrologers that don't know astrocartography. There's a lot of astrocartographers that don't know how to read charts. Both are imperative to be a successful and accurate astrologer, which is why I teach this in my certification course and now have my directory of readers that are qualified, tested, and know what they're doing. So definitely check out those links down below in the description if you want to learn more. All right, let's get into today's topic. Local space. Local space, or locality astrology, was founded by Michael Irvine. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Michael Irvine. So many people say that Jim Lewis and all these other astrologers were the founders of local space, but it was actually Michael Irvine who created computer softwares above. But Michael Irvine has a great book on local space, which I highly recommend reading. And local space, or locality astrology, is a subdivision, sub-branch of locational astrology. There's astrocartography, there's relocated charts, and then there's local space. I'm not going to speak about local space for 30 minutes. We don't have all day here, but I do recommend going to the website astro.com and clicking on the local space feature. Not the Astro Click travel feature. That's a very popular feature for astrocartography purposes, but no, we're not doing that today. We're going to click on the local space feature. Now, when you pull up your local space map, you're going to see all of these lines going in different directions from your place of birth. This is local space. Local space uses directions. It's all about the directions of where these planetary lines are going. And you can follow those planets to exact cities, towns, and areas in the world depending on what you're looking to harness. If you're looking to harness some creative inspiration or love or relationship harmony, go to a Venus line. If you're looking to get a good workout in and develop a sense of courage and assertion and independence, go to a Mars line. Obviously, this is a very general interpretation of these planets. It all depends on your unique planets in your birth chart. It all depends on your birth chart and how Venus is positioned in your chart. However, Venus is still Venus, and you could go to that Venus local space line going in the direction of where that line is going through, what towns and cities and places it's going through, to bring that energy into your life. But a lot of people will go to these local space lines, live there, travel there, have important monumental opportunities and things happen to them in their lives, and they have no idea about these local space lines. For instance, I have a lot of clients that will live on a local space line exactly in that town or city, and it's a very important place for them in the world. And sometimes it's kind of hard to see the big picture of your life and kind of get that bird's eye view of, oh yeah, that was an important place for me in terms of X, Y, Z. But it's interesting how people often will live on their local space lines, or at least travel to those lines and have important things that happen to them there. For instance, I lived for 1.5 years right on my Neptune local space line, which goes through Alexandria, Virginia, and that was a place where I had a massive spiritual awakening. I learned how to connect with my intuition on a deeper level. I learned how to connect with divinity, through prayer, with my angels, all of those things, that all got really, really activated when I was living on that Neptune line. But Virginia was a place where that spiritual journey just went to the next level, and I just woke up and realized I'm getting out of the matrix, basically. That was literally the place where I woke up and got out of the matrix, and it was on a Neptune line, which is really cool. There are two ways that you can use local space. The first most important way is to use the primary source. And the primary source is your natal chart. So from your place of birth, you're going to see that these lines go to different parts of the world. Lead with that first. Lead with your birthplace first and see where those lines are going through. What cities, what towns, what states, what countries those lines are going through. And you can click on the lines on astro.com and it'll say on the right-hand sidebar what those lines mean. It even includes things like driving tips and how you can decorate and feng shui your home based on the planets. It's really, really fun. Check out astro.com. I love their little descriptions of the local space lines. I find them so fun. So for instance, let's say you want to go travel to Helsinki. I'm currently in Helsinki, Finland for the next 3 weeks. So let's say you want to come out to Helsinki and you want to find an area that's going to be really a nice area for you to hang out in, like a neighborhood, a hotel, an Airbnb to get. You can put in the search bar on astro.com on the local space feature, Helsinki, Finland, click that, click those coordinates, and you can see what neighborhoods show which lines going through it. So let's say you need to do some writing work or you need to take some Zoom meetings when you're in Helsinki. I would look to those Mercury lines. Go in the direction of the Mercury line, which I believe is green on astro.com, but you'll have to click those lines on astro.com and see what planet it represents and what it means. And when you click that little line, it'll show you in the right-hand sidebar. And by moving those lines to a new city or a new place that you're looking to go to, or even maybe you've relocated and you want to relocate those lines to where you're living, you can see which neighborhoods and areas and streets and even buildings to go hang out in. So for instance, when I was in LA, as I detailed in my recent travel blog, there were certain streets that I felt like crap. And there were certain neighborhoods that, like, every time I went there, I just didn't feel good. And it had nothing to do with, like, the beauty of the area or anything like that. It was just energetically, I felt better in different neighborhoods. One of the most beautiful, wealthy, gorgeous neighborhoods in LA, I had this Pluto line going right through, and I always felt like paranoid and like just not as vibrant and fun as I usually am. Or for instance, one of the streets that I always walk down in West Hollywood, a great little neighborhood with tons of shops and boutiques and thrift stores and all these things, I had a Mars line going right through there, and that's where I went and worked out all the time. I went to Soul Cycle and I worked out in the gym and I did all my healthy habit stuff when I was living in West Hollywood on that Mars line. I would walk in the direction of that Mars line, and that's where all those things were. I didn't know about that until after I had stayed there for a few weeks, and then I pulled up the local space and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Use local space to check out what direction. Now, there's no mileage with local space. Unlike astrocartography lines or parens, those latitude crossings on your map, there is no mileage with these local space lines. It's all about going in the direction of that line. So let's say for instance, you go to your Mercury line and you get some good news that day, or you hear back from your boss, or maybe there was a contract that you've been waiting to get signed, and you get news, you receive news, or you receive an email on your Mercury line. Or for instance, let's say you go on your moon line, the direction of the moon line is this way, and you find that you're often maybe you feel more emotional and sensitive and intuitive when you go in the direction of that moon local space line. Or maybe you just have a great bonding experience with your partner or your kids or your family. Or maybe there's your favorite restaurant on your moon line. The moon is often associated with food, so maybe there's a great restaurant you have on your moon line that you really like going to. These are just a few examples of how you can use local space when you go to new areas and also in your local town wherever you live. So be sure to check out astro.com. Click the local space feature and tell me down below in the comments, what lines do you have going through your neighborhood? Have you noticed any interesting correlations between the places you frequently visit or the areas that you don't like? And have you noticed any certain challenging lines, like a Saturn line going through there? Or maybe a really positive Jupiter line going through that neighborhood? Let me know down below. I'd be really curious to hear what you find and what you see on your map. This is one of my favorite techniques when I'm traveling and going to different places, as I will use local space after I've gotten situated, after I've gotten, more settled in an area. The first week I like to test it out and just feel the waters and just allow myself to be spontaneous and explore and go place to place, just doing what my heart wants to do. But then after a week or two, I'll pull up my local space and I'll just see what's been going on, what's in the area, what have I already sensed and felt, and does that correlate with what my experience has been so far. But local space, it's a very, very interesting technique and you should definitely get on it. And check out that book, Local Space. You can check it out. I'll include a link down below to my favorite books and resources on astrocartography. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos going forward. So long for my Jupiter line. I hope you have a magical day and happy travels. Bye!